Microsoft 365 in practice. Good morning, Darius.
Good morning, Jerry. I have my morning tea.
I really like this topic we're going to cover today, the custom lists topic. I get kind of excited because I don't know if you know, I've got a background in computer science.
Really? A
Yeah,
background in computer science. I'm actually doing
yeah.
that in college right now.
Oh, right. I knew that. Yeah. In my degree, we did a lot of programming in various computer languages. And so when I get into this topic in SharePoint, custom lists, it feels like I'm programming again. And so it's kind of exciting. A little bit like a database application development is what we're doing in SharePoint here today.
Well, let's see if those degrees paid off.
All right. Good stuff. So what we're going to talk about is custom lists in SharePoint. And what a custom list is in SharePoint, we've seen lists a little bit already. You know, they have columns and rows, and it's a structured, kind of like a database table. And with a custom list, we can create any columns that we want in our lists in SharePoint. And then we can go ahead and use that custom list, and we can do all the other SharePoint things like permissions and changing the name and sharing with external people and creating views and all the different things we could do in SharePoint lists come with these custom lists. So we touched on this in our third video, but now we're going to go into more detail and really take it from a modern SharePoint point of view. So let's create a simple inventory list in SharePoint. So this will be an inventory list to track our office supplies or our assets in our company. And you could see we could do it on a piece of paper, but we're going to do this in SharePoint so we can share it with the rest of the company and people can see where things are and who's borrowed them and when they will return. As Stephen Covey says, everything is created twice. So this is our first creation of our custom list, and we do it in the SharePoint design document. This is, of course, the design document that Lightlever uses for all of our development, and this is available on the lightlever.ca website as well as through the SharePoint in Practice book. So I filled in a basic inventory list here, and then once that's filled in Word and the spell check is done and we've proved it with our people, we can go over to the SharePoint and create a new list here. Now this is the modern list experience, and what I do is a lot of copy. So over here, copy, Control C, and then paste over here. One of the options in creating a list is show in the site navigation, and that just shows up here in the navigation. I'm going to leave it as yes there and click create. So SharePoint is creating the list. It is a custom list, and when we create a custom list, all we have is a title field. The title field is always there. We can't remove it. We can only rename it. So let's do this. I'm going to go into the settings for this list, so list settings, and point out where you modify and create columns in this settings screen is here. So first thing I'll do is I'm going to rename that title column and I'm going to repurpose it to be this inventory item. So let me copy this, paste it over here. So I can't delete the title column, but I can reuse it. So now when I say OK, that title column will be renamed in my list. So see it here. Now I can add the additional columns here, just creating columns. But with modern SharePoint, I want to emphasize the new way of creating columns is here. If you have permission to add columns, I can do that right here. So add a column, and I'm looking over to my spec, and the next field I want is a number column called quantity. How many do we have? And that's the description. And is it mandatory? Yes. So the things like mandatory, they're under the more options. So required, this means it's mandatory. And the default is 1. And I can save that. Okay, so now we have our inventory list. We've created a list in SharePoint. Let's add some data to this list, and I'm going to do a copy and paste method here to put content in. Here's my initial data set. I've got inventory item, quantity, the item type, the location, who borrowed it, and when it's going to be returned. So when I go into quick edit mode, let's see if I can copy and paste. So this is an example of copy and paste into the quick edit mode. And we talked about this in video 3 about loading content into a list or library. If I exit the quick edit, we now have an inventory list. So this, you can do all of the things you can do with a regular SharePoint list. Now I can create views. For example, maybe I want a group by view by item type. So let me go into the list settings, and I'll create a new view, group by item type. Create a view. It's a standard view. So group by. So there we go. This is a grouped view, and I can see by the groupings. Now, the last thing I want to show with the custom list is putting it on the home page. Because when we create a list, one of the things you want to do is surface it on a page. So here we are back in our sandbox, and we know we can edit a page. We can edit this page. And let's say the inventory is an important piece of my page, so I'm going to put it up near the top of the page over here. So I'll add a new web part, and when I add a web part, one of the things I can choose is a list. And because I created this as a modern list, I can select it directly here, an inventory list, on my SharePoint homepage. And when I edit this modern list, I can choose how I want to see it on the homepage, including which view to use. Let's use the group by type view, as I find that to be a bit more compact and easier to use. Click apply to save those changes, and I will republish the page. And now there's my list on my home page. So that's a real quick and simple inventory list that we could create on our SharePoint site. Can you think of any other lists that people might want to create?
I definitely think you could move timesheets into SharePoint easily. That's one that comes to
Yes.
mind immediately. I've definitely created a lot
Yes.
of timesheets.
Okay, well, let's leave it at that for today. Hey, I'm Jerry Brimacombe, and this has been another episode of Microsoft 365 in Practice. Please let me know if you have any questions, and your comments and subscriptions are welcome. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.